Good evening from Calfee Farms in Corryton, Tennessee. We're decided to do a quick video this Sunday evening. A little video of our Spanish goat herd that we have. This is part of the herd. Certainly not all of the herd. They've been on this pasture most of the summer. And we raise Spanish goats here, 100% Spanish. Every goat that we have is 100% Spanish. And we've got a variety of bloodlines, several different bloodlines. There's our big herd sire, Zag in the background there, grazing. Most of these does are pregnant, the ones that are old enough. Sorry for the shaky video here. The younger ones, yearlings, not bred, shouldn't be bred. Haven't seen any of them come into heat, so not seen the buck chase after them. Some of the bloodlines that we have are Moorfield Spanish. They are known for their most known for their cashmere, which is a very thick but very fine wool-like coat that they put on. The difference between that and wool is that they shed the cashmere off in the spring and put it back on in fall, typically in the fall. One of our Moorfields, our big herd sire out here, he is Moorfield Spanish. There's one right here, and she's got some Moorfield in her. Different other bloodlines too. These two different bloodlines. They've got a couple of different bloodlines in them. Let's see here. There's a few more. There's a little buck right here. Calfee Farms Doc, and he is out of our big herd sire, Zag. And as temperatures start to get cooler, our does will come into start putting on a winter coat. Some of them that haven't been in heat yet will come into heat. This big one right here, I just posted some pictures on our website, and I think the Spanish Goat website association. And this big doe right here, she's a Moorfield 100%, and she's bred to our herd sire, which is 100% Moorfield. So last year she had us triplets, and this year she is just as big. So she's probably a couple of months still away from having kids. So but she gets about 2 months into her pregnancy, and she looks like she could drop kids any day. So she stays big and fluffy most of the year. We don't feed any feed here. We're as close to, I guess, organic or GMO free as you can get. We're certainly not officially an organic farm. We do use some weed killers, and we do on occasion, very rarely, but on occasion, feed our goats some feed. But mostly we do hay that is cut off the farm in the winter time, and then just pasture, which we do the minerals, goat minerals and everything. So we don't do a whole lot of feed. Now we do feed our bucks. We do feed our bucks that were weaned. We do feed them. But they have as much pasture, or more pasture, than they can actually clear. So that our bucks can, that when they go to their farm, whatever farm that they go to, their new home, they're able to handle about any production situation that they would be under, whether it be full feed or whether it be like our operation for our does and stuff like that. They are on pasture year-round, and we're basically a grass-fed operation. But we feel that it's an injustice if we send them to a farm that has feed, because we know that they're going to have some GI issues and upset stomachs and an adjustment period. So that's why we do feed. Plus it grows them out quicker. A lot of people say that Spanish goats are slower growing in generality. Yeah, possibly, but the meat is on these goats tastes phenomenal, and there's not a lot of fat, and you don't want fat and marbling in goat meat. You really don't, because it tastes awful, horrible, and some people describe it as rancid. So you don't want marbling, you want just the meat. And so with goat meat, you can't just cook it like other kinds of meat, because it is so lean. Requires a lot of marinating. Citrus, a lot of people use citrus, a lot of acidic things. Citrus, vinegar, tomato sauce, tomato paste, tomato juice, stuff like that, and herbs, and it just really takes on the flavor of how you season it, but you still get the taste of goat, and it is a really good taste. And the Spanish goats from the beginning were brought by Christopher Columbus and some of the other European Spanish explorers for the sole purpose of a meat source and hides. They used their hides for clothing and stuff. So the Spanish goat was the original meat goat, and the very first goat foot to actually set foot on this continent, North American continent, was brought over by the Spanish explorers and European explorers as a meat source and everything. So the Spanish goats are the meat goat. Their meat tastes the best. They've been nothing but a meat goat for 600 plus years, and so with that much time as only a meat goat, and wild most of that time for about 400 years, they have been nothing, been farmed, been bred, and everything else to be nothing but meat. Not dual purpose milk or nothing like that. So meat is very good, and you can't beat it. So these goats are great at clearing brush. A lot of people ask, why did you all get into raising Spanish goats? And I tried every breed out there, and every meat goat breed, and the Spanish goat, you just can't beat them. And there's others that swear by their breed of goat, and that's fine. But here in our neck of the little part of the world, which is East Tennessee, and we live in the parasite belt. I heard one went to a goat seminar, meat goat seminar one time, and he called it the worm belt of the United States, which kind of goes from Kentucky and Ohio all the way down to the tip of Florida, over to the East Coast, and that way, and down to Mississippi, Alabama, and all that. So deep south. And you have to have a goat that has been tested, and these goats were wild, were feral for 400 years. So they work down south, and they work here in East Tennessee better than their hooves are horribly hard to trim because they're so tough. So, but with these Spanish goats, you don't. I've got this big doe right here, this big one. She has not needed a hoof trim in over 18 months. One of them has only needed one deworming. Most of these have not been dewormed since last October, and some of them didn't need a deworming then. This one right here, this black and kind of whitish light tan colored one, and this black one right here, these haven't needed it in 2 years. The last time this black one right here got a deworming was when I weaned her. And so that just goes to tell you how tough they are. We do rotate pastures, and we do copper boluses, which is a copper capsule. It's actually got like fine filings of copper in it, copper oxide, and it's in a capsule, big capsule, and you give it to them, and it interacts with their stomach acids and stuff like that, and it makes it, it's a natural, kind of a natural dewormer. Our area certainly is very deficient in copper. Well, our farm is. I don't know about the whole area, but our farm is deficient in copper and in selenium. So we do a commercial loose goat mineral that we get from our local farmers co-op. We use a couple of them, and we get most of our stuff from the Union Farmers Co-op in Maynardville, Tennessee, Union County, because that's where we're closest to. So they do a good job taking care of us and always having what we need in stock. So Red and the gang at Union Farmers Co-op, I'll give them a good shout out because they always take care of us. So good, easy to deal with. So give a little plug for them. But Red Beeler, if you ever go up through there, go to that co-op in Union County, Maynardville, Tennessee, stop in and see Red Beeler, and he'll get you taken care of. If they don't have it, he'll tell you where you can get it. So excellent co-op, farmers cooperative. I don't know how many states have them, but I know they're all over Tennessee. So but anyhow, I've rambled a lot, but our Spanish goats just do wonderful. We got a load from a small herd from El Dorado, Texas, and we were kind of unsure how they were going to do in our climate, coming from a totally different climate down in El Dorado, Texas, and down in that area. And they're very, very fertile goats. We got some that were about 8, I don't think it was quite 8, maybe 6 months old. And we had a little buck in with them, and me thinking that they wouldn't be old enough to breed, or he wouldn't be old enough to breed any of the does, and they wouldn't come into heat. They did come into heat, and he did breed them, and we did not know that they were pregnant. We got them in a September, I believe July or September, I can't remember which, and we didn't know that they were expecting until we noticed they were getting really big and fat, the does were, but we just thought it was because at that time we fed a little bit of feed and did protein blocks and stuff like that, which we still do from time to time, the protein blocks, but not the feed. And we didn't know that they were all pregnant till the first one started hitting the ground, and we started seeing little black critters running through the field, and they were baby goats. So we were so surprised that number one, that they were able to breed, and number two, that they were able to take care of the kids and everything, and were able to have a live birth, and we did not lose a kid out of that bunch. And so those does did grow a little bit slower, but they grew out. We kept most of them, and were amazed that that happened. So the Spanish goat mamas, they are just such good mamas. If you want kids, goat kids, you want to have a herd of goats that multiplies really quick and get up to a good size herd, the Spanish goat is the way to go. It's one thing to have goats that have a lot of kids, but it's another thing that those kids survive, their survivability. And 2 years ago, when the weather got down in the low, it was in the low teens, single digits, think even got below 0. That's when we had most of our babies born. We did not lose a single one. And we have a small barn. Here you can see it's not very fancy at all. It's pretty much a pole barn, and we've put some tin around it just to keep the wind from blowing through, but it's certainly not completely enclosed and everything. And we also keep part for our working facilities, our head gate and corral and all that stuff, but certainly not anything heated or fancy or anything like that. Not a one gave birth in the barn. I'll show you where they gave birth. Right here. And this cedar thicket's right here. It's very thick. And this is where they gave birth. Right here. Here, there was a few that actually gave birth right in here. We've got another thicket right up here. I know the lighting's not that well. But in this cedar thicket right here, we've got another cedar thicket over here. And that's where the babies were born. They were in brush piles. They were hollow logs. We had some hollow locust posts that were just on the ground that had been there for years and years when we took down some fencing, and there was a few in there. Rock ledges. It's kind of rocky here in places. You can see rocks from kind of sprinkled out through the farm. There's one. There's a big rock pile right here. Natural. And this is part of the property where we could not get, and here's another one right here where I've shot a lot of videos right up here in the upper middle of the screen right here. And this is part of the property where we couldn't get a sickle bar mower, a bush hog, or anything. And the goats have kept this pretty clean. So it's kind of why we got into goats in the first place. And then we found the Spanish goat, and we sold every other goat we had and just went all in on Spanish. So, but anyhow, this is late evening. They'll graze till you just about can't see the goats anymore, and then they'll go in, some in the woods. Most of the time during the summer, they will go in this little barn, this little pole barn right here, but this is really the only shelter we have, except for we have another one that is. Well, you can't even see it, but it's behind that tree line. There's like a plateau up there, and that's where we're getting ready to rotate them to until it gets the first week of December. And it is way overgrown. They should have already been on it, but it's been so busy we haven't had a chance to get this part of the property, the fence and everything, in order. So they've been on this pasture right here, and then here's the other one right here up close to the house and houses and everything. So but they've still got quite a few inches. It's still knee high, and you can kind of see some of the stuff that they have. There's Lespedeza in here. Right now predominantly is the goldenrod, or the ragweed as we call it around here, and that stuff is wicked for your sinuses. But you can kind of see some of the vegetation, and then there's some orchard grass down in there, and some fescue, and there's some clover right here, some different kinds of clover. There's some dandelion. There's some wild flower mix in here, and I think some of this right here, I don't know, I'm no plant specialist, but I think some of this right here, center screen, is immature, but normally it gets about head high. And here's a better representative of it right. Let me zoom out here a little bit. Right here. This right here. And it has a purple bloom on it. It's supposed to have a purple bloom on it. It gets about head high. And my grandfather always called it ironweed. Ironweed, real tall. And but the goats love it. They absolutely love it. We've got other kinds of vegetation in here. Of course, we've got the cedar branches. Cedar, they have kept the tree line. You can see right here, you can see some of the branches that don't have any cedar on it whatsoever. And they go as high as they can reach on their back legs, and then the llama takes it from there. There's some more cedar. Right over here is kind of a dead looking cedar, and there's a wild cherry growing out of it. We'll keep a watch on that, but they still will eat it, and it's not poisonous or anything to them, as long as the branch, as long as you don't pull the branch off or it doesn't fall over and start wilt. Once those leaves of a cherry tree, and I think it goes for the other fruit trees as well, they build up an arsenic in them, and it's really quick, and it can really be deadly. And so if they do eat this, they've trimmed it up to where they can't reach any of it anymore, but they do eat it. Sometimes I will pull a branch down, not break it off, but pull a branch down, and they'll eat it. They'll eat it. But this is some of the one of the other thickets, cedar thickets in here, and you can see where they've stripped the branches and the leaves, or the cedar off. And this is what our goats live on. There's another cedar tree. There's a pine tree. A few of those in the background. Here's one right here. I don't know what kind of pine tree it is, but it's been here ever since I can remember, and I've been on this farm for 40 something years, so 42 or 43 years. So the branches are probably start 15 feet up, so they don't really get much to eat off of it. But anyhow, this is a little bit about our Spanish goat operation. We kind of let nature take its course, and you know, we reevaluate each doe. Just because she's a keeper one year doesn't mean she's the next keeper the next year. So we kind of watch bad udders, bad feet, ones that don't take care of their kids. I think in the 6 years that we've had Spanish goats, we've only probably culled a couple that didn't take care of their kids. But this is the core group of our doe herd of Spanish, and you can see they come in different colors, different horn shapes, different sizes, different coats, hair coats. You've got one right here. This one's a Weinheimer. She comes from Texas, and she's a big girl, and she is not, if she's bred, she's not far along. Normally once she gets about 6 weeks along, she's fat all the way through till she gives birth. So kind of like this Moorfield right here, so you can tell this one's just a regular coat. And these two right here, one with the bell, we keep one with the bell on it just so we can tell where the goats are. Her, and that's her daughter back behind her. And it's funny how the generations kind of stick together. So there's mother, there's daughter, there's granddaughter right behind her, so they kind of stick together. And so this is just, let's see, there's our guardian llama out here. His best buddy is our herd sire Zag. And this doe down here in the creek bed, she was in another video. After she had her baby, I went up there and checked on her, and our llama Carl stepped in front of me and wouldn't let me get any closer. So he is a very good guardian, and him and the buck are like best buds. And so we do woven wire, just the regular cattle woven wire. We don't do the goat, but we also do electric fence about 8 inches above the ground, and then this one needs some work. I've not had the electric on, and one about 32 inches, and that keeps them from rubbing on the fence and getting our head stuck in it and all that. So you can see we've still got tons of vegetation. Tons of vegetation. It's just amazing how much that it's grown this year. We've got a lot of good rains this year. July was wetter than May and August put together. So and August was a little bit rainy as well. September is kind of dried off a little bit, which we're not far into September, but anyhow, this is some of our goats. This is one of our older but still good, one of our coys, Coy Spanish. She's one of the original ones that we got straight off the ranch in Texas. And here's a Moorfield, a black one, and she's putting on a little bit of her cashmere too. Here's a young one. She is got a little black one. She is full Coy Ranch Spanish, and she was born, I think, like maybe a month and a half or two ago. But she is actually, she is not 100% Coy. She's half Coy and half Moorfield Spanish, because she is out of our big buck Zag, or Zaggy. But anyhow, this is some of our herd. We just had a lot of comments and a lot of questions from neighbors and just other YouTubers and other goat producers, even dairy. We've had some of the dairy people come and goats come and ask us about our goats and everything. Our Spanish goats are not common here in East Tennessee. There's just a few of us that have active herds that are actually affiliated with the Spanish Goat Association, but we get a lot of people, and the biggest one of the things that really grabs people's attention is their history, that Christopher Columbus and some of the other Spanish explorers that everybody learns about in elementary school history, U.S. history, brought these first goats over, and these are descendants of those, supposed to be descendants of those. So cool story, just a cool goat, really. They're kind of wildish. We've trained ours to a feed bucket though. They get ever so often, if we need to get them up, we'll get a little bit of corn, or actually here in the past 5 years we just use black sunflower seeds, and which technically is not a feed, and organic, and they will come running. So when they hear that rattling in a feed bucket, they'll come. So we give that very sparingly, but just enough to where they know what that sound is and they don't forget it. So and we've got a creek that runs right through here that stays running a good bit of the year. Sometimes in the worst part of the summer it'll dry up a little bit, so we do water troughs and everything, but even our water's all natural. Comes from some springs that are on the farm. This one's kind of a wet weather spring. Some of our fencing, we got lots of paddocks, acre, 2 acre, 5 acres, 10 acres, little plots, and that we put them on. So just a little bit about our goats. If you're interested in Spanish goats, I absolutely encourage you to visit the Spanish Goat Association website, www.spanishgoats.org. Certainly invite you to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube. We do videos not as often as we would like, but we do videos fairly often. And you can go to our website, www.calfee, CALFEE, farms.com. grassfed.net. And we have a Facebook page, which is where we're the most active and the most updated pictures and information about the farm and our goats and everything like that. And just go to Calfee Farms on Facebook, C-A-L-F-E-E Farms. And we've got all of our videos, most all of our videos posted on there where you can look at them. Most of our videos there. And so get in touch with us. Our phone number is 865-216-3509. That's our farm office. We also have a boutique on the farm. It's got goat lotions and soaps and stuff like that, but that does not come from these goats. It comes from a dairy farm that's fairly close to us. So we make the soaps though from their milk. So anyhow, we always love to have visitors. Give us a call, schedule a visit. We'll talk about goats and talk about Spanish goats and talk about raising goats, just goats in general. We've got 2 master meat goat producers certified by the University of Tennessee and Tennessee State University here. I'm one of them. I'm Matthew, the farm manager, and my father, Ron Calfee. We can tell you everything you want to know and then some about some Spanish goats, and certainly we don't know everything, but we're always learning more about them and about goat production and meat goat production and all that. So come visit us. Once again, like the video, smash the subscribe button, and watch our videos. Visit us on Facebook, Calfee Farms, and visit us. Leave a little comment down below in the video or on our website. And I think we're going to sign off. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, and God bless.